In this video, we're gonna go through a bunch of different drone shots that work well when you're filming vehicles. Now my goal with this video is to show you a variety of shots that you can use with any drone that you're flying with. Some drones will have more advantages over others. However, for the majority of these shots, you can perform them with any drone. Now before we get into the specific shots, there's a couple things we need to have a discussion about. What is the purpose for the footage that you're creating? I've talked a lot about different drone shots on this channel, and they're all great, but ultimately they're only useful if they work for the project that you're working on. Now, if you're just cutting together some cool shots and putting it to music, well then having some variety and having all these different styles of shots will look really cool. But if you're telling a story, a lot of times just a simple drone shot of like a vehicle moving through the scene is all you're gonna need. You don't need to go out and shoot like 15 different shots and grab all of these different angles if it's just a quick transition from one scene to another. And when we're out flying, obviously we wanna get as much footage as possible, but you really wanna think about that story, because if you're spending half your day getting cool drone shots of your vehicle moving through some different scenes, but when you get down to the edit, you're only using a few seconds from each section, well, you're gonna waste a lot of time. Because time is important and you don't wanna shoot a ton of footage that you don't end up using in the edit. So if you're using these shots for more of a story piece, well, think through what is the purpose of these drone shots in this specific video that you're creating, and then come up with a list of shots that you wanna use. Grab a few extra here and there, but don't overshoot it. But if you're not shooting a story and you just wanna capture a bunch of different awesome shots of your vehicle, well, these shots that we're gonna discuss in this video will give you a ton of ideas and variations that you can use so that you can change it up and not use the same shot over and over and over. And another good reason to use these shots is to sell them as stock footage. All right, so now let's dig into some different drone shots to give you some ideas of what to use in your next video. This first one is the raise up and tilt down. This is a great one to use whenever I just want to get a shot of my truck and I want to show a dynamic background. And we're going to be using parallax, but it's a vertical parallax versus a horizontal parallax. And so what that means is the background is moving faster than the foreground. So to perform this move, you're going to pull down on the left joystick while tilting up on the gimbal. And you can also do this in reverse. So you can push up on the left joystick and tilt down with the gimbal. This shot not only shows a ton of movement, but it also could be used as a reveal to show the scene behind. Now to take this shot a step further, add a longer lens. So if you're filming on a drone like the DJI Mavic 3, well, you have access to that super zoomed in lens. It's a 7x zoom, which is equivalent to like 160-ish millimeter lens. It's wild. But if you're shooting something like the Mini 3, well, you could just punch in on your footage 2 times in 4K or 4 times in HD. So you could use the same drone movement but on a zoomed in lens and just accentuate the background movement even more. You're really gonna see a ton of this vertical parallax when you zoom in your lens. Now the next move is an epic landscape orbit. And to perform an orbit, there's a few ways that you could do it. You can pull left on the left joystick while pulling right on the right joystick, or you could pull right on the left joystick and then left on the right joystick, and that's gonna move the drone in a circle around the vehicle. When you're doing this, you wanna just keep that vehicle centered the entire time. And another way to do this in a DJI drone is to use focus track feature. So you can lock onto your subject and then you could put it into the orbit mode and it will keep that vehicle centered the entire time and spin left or right. And to really sell this drone move, you want to have just an epic landscape in the background. And another variation of this is using a zoomed in lens. So just like the last move, if you punch in the lens and you do an orbit, you're gonna be more focused on the vehicle versus the background. However, what you're gonna see in the background is gonna be moving so much faster. So it just gives you a completely different look to your footage when you're filming in this way. And when you're zoomed in, you could see a lot more of that parallax. And a good thing to do is when you're filming in this way is shoot at double that of your frame rate. So making sure that you have proper motion blur so that when you're doing these movements, you actually see the background blurring a little bit versus having less motion blur and it's gonna look a lot more choppy. Now the next movement is, well, no movement, and it's a tripod in the sky. And what you'll do is fly your drone to a unique perspective and then just let the drone sit there. And then you want to have the vehicle move through the scene. You don't always have to have motion with your drone. I think one thing that we're always trying to do is add more motion and just make it more dynamic. When in reality, sometimes just having the drone up in the sky with a cool angle and like looking through the trees or seeing just the landscape, that's all you really need. And it just varies up the shot so that your camera's not always close to the ground. And the same type of movement looks great when you're looking just straight down. So if you're looking down on the ground and you see the patterns and textures of the earth, and then you see the vehicle interacting with that, well, that creates a really dynamic looking shot, and you don't always have to move the shot. However, if you do add some top-down motion, there's a few things that you can do. And the first is just move with the vehicle. So wherever your vehicle moves, you can move the drone. And so if the vehicle turns, you turn. Then if it's moving forward, the drone's moving forward. So it's stuck on the vehicle, and it's kind of like looking down at that map view. And so how you do this move is you're gonna be pushing forward on the right joystick, and then you're gonna be using your left joystick, left or right, to follow the vehicle. And if you're keeping at the same pace as the vehicle, well, you'll be able to just use that left joystick and steer the drone around wherever the vehicle is moving. Now, another top-down variation is moving the drone in one direction while the vehicle moves through the scene. So if you're on a road, one of the things you could be doing is going down the road and the vehicle moves faster than the drone. So it comes into frame and then it pops out of frame. One thing when you're working with vehicles is play with the different styles of motion. So vehicles can move faster or slower than your drone, and you'll want to have some shots where you're moving at the same pace, some where you're moving slower, and some where you're even moving faster and overtaking the vehicle. Now this next one's one of my favorite, and that is where you fly in front of the vehicle and the vehicle's coming towards you. Now this shot looks really cool because it's gonna show a ton of movement in the frame, and if you can fly in a way where you're safe and things are moving past the frame, it's gonna just give it a super dynamic look. So to perform this move, you pull backwards on the right joystick as the vehicle is moving towards you, and ideally you wanna have the vehicle and the drone moving at the same pace. And so you're essentially gonna be glued to the vehicle, but you're down low right in front of that vehicle and just flying backwards. Now be careful because you could hit something, or if you're going too slow, well, the truck or something could hit you. Now, next one is super useful for vehicles, and that is a side tracking shot. So you're gonna get to the side of your subject and you're gonna pull left or right on the right joystick, and you'll wanna be moving at the same pace as the vehicle. Now to amp up this shot, use a zoomed in lens. Whenever you wanna make these movements feel faster and more impactful, you can zoom in the lens, especially when you're focused on a vehicle and moving fast through a landscape. But again, with this shot, you're gonna be down low. You're gonna wanna be cautious to what's the side of your drone. If you're flying with a Mavic 3, you have those side-to-side sensors, but a lot of drones don't have those side-to-side sensors, so it's very easy to run into something. Now the next one is a reveal. So you're gonna be moving sideways with the landscape. You're gonna be pulling left or right on the right joystick while tilting up on the gimbal. So this is a great way to just start a scene. So you just kind of see this landscape moving through the frame, and then as the gimbal comes up, you reveal the scene that the car is driving through. Now these shots, when you're moving the gimbal up, revealing from just nothing to actually seeing the scene, are a great way to start action in the video that you're creating. So if you're in a new scene, if you're in a new location, well, this is a great introduction shot to use. Now, one of the shots I like to use all the time is get to a corner of the vehicle and then just move at the same pace. And the idea of this is that you're seeing the landscape and you're moving at the same pace as the truck or car or whatever you're filming. So when you're flying, you see this big landscape style shot and you'll see the truck small in the frame, and both you and the drone are moving at the same pace. Now, this isn't like some of the other shots where you're focused in and you're super close up. This one is more of a landscape shot, but you're moving at the same pace. So if you're flying in one of the corners, you're gonna be pushing your sticks in one of the corners. So your drone is gonna be turned at a 45-degree angle at the sky, and you're gonna be pushing into one of the four corners to be able to follow the drone forwards, the top two, or backwards, the back two. Now, another good shot to use with a vehicle is the reveal. So flying with just an empty frame, you see a big scene, maybe there's a road down low, and then the car is driving faster than the drone and it enters into frame and keeps moving through that frame. So the drone is moving slowly, you're just seeing a little bit of creeping motion in the shot, and then the vehicle moves fast and pops into the frame. And so this is what I was saying earlier, you want to play with the different speeds of your drone to your vehicle. Sometimes you'll want to go super fast, and sometimes you'll want the drone to go super slow. Now, a fun one to use once in a while is the dolly zoom, and that's where you're gonna be adding a zoom when you're in the editing software. Some drones do allow you to do this in camera, but I found that it's just easier to do in your editing software. And so to perform this move, you're either gonna be flying towards the vehicle or flying away from the vehicle, and then you're gonna do the reverse in your editing software with a zoom. And so when you move forwards while zooming out in your software, you're gonna create this stretching effect in the background. Now, this is an effect that can be overused, but if you do it subtly in different scenes, it just gives you a different style of motion that might make it feel a little bit different than the other shots that you're capturing. But next, you need to check out this video right here, which is gonna go through even more drone moves that's gonna help you when you're out flying. I'll see you over there.